welcome Monsignor Peter Vaccari here. Here is the rooftop of the convent, the Maronite convent in Jerusalem. We are in downtown Jerusalem as we continue with our series, the second Wednesday of each month, Connections with the President of CNEWA. I'm very happy to welcome everyone here. I want to thank you for joining us for this ongoing series that we have developed. I'd like to introduce our team from New York. They asked Joseph Hasbun, the director of our office in Jerusalem, to introduce our team here in Jerusalem. So first, to my left, our CFO, and to our left, our director of to ask Joseph Hasbun, director here of the Jerusalem office, to welcome his team.
And greetings, everybody. We have with us Rodolphe Saade, the director of projects in the Jerusalem office, and Mrs. Abir Atallah Zambil, a projects coordinator in the office.
So it's great to know that everyone has kind of come into this program. The purpose, as you know, of these connection moments on the second Wednesday of each month is really for me and for those who will join me in future months to offer to you, our very generous donors, those who are interested in the mission of CNEWA and Pontifical Mission, a little bit about what we're trying to do. What is the mission about, and really the very wonderful ways in which all of you have been so generous in helping us. I want to acknowledge here at the beginning the extraordinary work done by the New York team, in particular Noel Selgiksi, who is our Director of Development, Tim McCarthy, who is involved again as our Director of Creative Services, Nelson Salcido, and Hemdat Saw. So the team has put together, I think, what you're going to find to be a very interesting presentation in terms of what we're about here. I'd like to thank everybody else in the New York office, and I know in the Jerusalem office, who have really blocked out the time to watch on this particular occasion. Where are we? We are here in downtown Jerusalem. We are on, as I mentioned before, the rooftop of the Maronite convent. As you're looking beyond where we're all sitting, you are looking there at the dome of the Basilica of the Holy Sepulchre. So that is what is the background for us here as we come to you live from Jerusalem. A couple of days ago, I set out with Tresul and with Thomas. We came and began our visits to the Middle East offices. We began our visit coming here to Jerusalem by first going to Gaza. And we arrived back here in Jerusalem from the Gaza Strip just a few hours ago. And I know that as you look at the video that we're going to be showing you here, you'll see some of the images from the Gaza Strip. And then I'm going to just offer a few comments first about CNEWA, in case there are some new viewers that are here. And then turn this over to Joseph, who is going to talk about the work that we're doing, the mission that we are all about here in Jerusalem and through the Jerusalem offices. But then we also want to have your own input with regard to maybe questions, comments that you may have, and then to go around our panel here so that we can all listen. How important it is always to listen to one another, and we can be listening to one another in the experiences that we have had and that we have shared. So first, just again, for those of you who may be new viewers coming in for the first time, Catholic Near East Welfare Association and Pontifical Mission is established and has been working in this region for many years. We have been working here, and we are working throughout not only this region, but of course, as you know, we are working, we have offices here in the Middle East, certainly here in Jerusalem, and we have offices in Amman and office in Beirut. The office in Beirut is responsible for our work in Lebanon, in Syria, in Egypt, and in parts of Iraq. From the office that we have in Amman, Jordan, that office is the one that serves in Jordan and also in parts of Iraq. So that's a lot in terms of the background of the Mideast offices. You're looking at the map. You also see where we are working with offices in Ethiopia and in Eritrea. You see where we are working with India, in Ernakulam. And you also see on the map where we are working in Eastern Europe. course, so many of you have been so generous already with regard to the work, the contributions that you have made in terms of our work in Ukraine and over the past years with the partnerships that we have and the work that we have been doing also in Georgia and Armenia. For us, at this particular moment in time, I think it's just important to share as we have traveled, and particularly as our journey begins here, the experiences that we have had with the contact that we have had already with the different groups here in the Jerusalem office. So as we look at much of the focus that we have experienced in terms of going into Gaza, the very difficult circumstances under which the people in Gaza right now are living, it was an opportunity for us to be able to see how our work there is devoted on a humanitarian level, how our work there is devoted with regard to the psychosocial counseling that is becoming ever more important, not only where we were in Gaza these last 2 days, but also where we are going in terms of the work that has been going on in Lebanon and in Amman. One of the things that struck me very deeply yesterday, as we were meeting with a group of doctors while we were in Gaza, one of the things that struck me very deeply was not only the importance of the psychosocial counseling for many of the families whose homes had been bombed, many of the businesses, people who lost businesses, but also the very healthcare workers themselves who have been involved for so many years in trying to bring some kind of relief, some kind of understanding, some kind of perspective to the experiences that so many of the people there have undergone, have had. One of our own workers in that particular location is one who was born and raised in Gaza and continues to work there and continues to serve with great heroic witness the mission that we are about. So yes, we met there. We met also, we had the opportunity to meet with church officials, and that will be the journey as it continues here in Jerusalem, starting tomorrow morning again, when we will be meeting with the Patriarch, Archbishop Pizzaballa, along with other officials here, and then going on to other locations where we are at work. So to present the locations and the places where we're working, in other words, the places where we're working because of your generosity. You make what we do possible. We are here, and at each place that we go, we never stop to express our gratitude to you for what makes possible the images that you're seeing, whether it's in terms of healthcare or in terms of education or in terms of humanitarian relief. So let me just turn now to Joseph, and Joseph, ask you to comment and share with all of our viewers in North America the experience here of the work of the office in Jerusalem.
Thank you, Monsignor. Again, greetings, everybody. I'm Joseph, the director of the Jerusalem office. Our main program in Jerusalem is all about supporting a network of civil and church-related institutions. And through these institutions, we serve the community that live in the various areas of the Holy Land in Israel and in Palestine. We did a survey during the pandemic in cooperation with the Dar al-Kalima University in Bethlehem. This survey examined the number and the services provided by the church-related institutions, and it revealed that there are approximately 300 institutions that are active in the fields of healthcare, education, and social service, in addition to other domains. All in all, they serve around 1/3 of the population in Palestine. This survey showed that the Christian community, who mostly runs this institution, is indeed, as our Lord said, the salt of the earth. You know that the Christian community is roughly around 1.5% of the population in Palestine, yet they serve 1/3 of the population, around 2.5 million people in healthcare, education, and social service. For this reason, it is very important for the Jerusalem office to continue to provide support especially that these institutions together provide almost 10,000 employment opportunities. So they are the third employer in the Holy Land. Unfortunately, in comparison to the size of the services that they provide and the employment that they offer, they don't receive enough financial support from the Palestinian government or other funding agencies. So for this reason, we've been concentrating during the past 2 decades on supporting this network of institutions. Um, in addition, this serves also to strengthen the Christian presence in the land where Christianity began. And this is very important because not only that we don't want the Holy Land to turn into museums as some of the pessimistic people predict, but also because the service that is provided by these institutions is engulfed with the Christian values, which are also the human values that concentrating on the human dignity, on the importance of charity, on tolerance. Um, so these are important values that are provided along with the service, the loving care of the church. In addition to supporting the institutions, we also have programs that directly touch the lives of the people, especially the children and the youth, through the pastoral activities program, that through which we support the church and we accompany the church to continue to provide catechism for the children so that they connect uh, between their identity as Christians and the land of Jesus where we are present. We also support Bible summer camps. We support Bible activities and Bible competitions in Israel and in Palestine so that the community and the children, they can become aware that they live in the land where it all began, where Jesus spread his message. This is very important and not always easy to explain because of the political situation that poses some threats and some challenges to the local community, in addition to being a minority among Muslim and Jewish majority. So for this reason, the pastoral program is very important. In addition, we started a program whereby it's an ambitious program, whereby we would like to prepare the next generation of Christian leadership. So that in the coming years, we can prepare the youth to take over the leadership of the so many Christian institutions that are active in the various domains and sectors that we talked about. And it's very important to empower the children, the children and the youth to take up the responsibility in years to come. And this we do in a close relationship with the various Christian movement, youth movements of the Catholic Church and the other churches that are present in the Holy Land, and also in close relationship and cooperation with the Scout movement. The Scout movement mostly becomes alive and present in the life of the community through the various parades, especially at Christmas and at Easter. But behind the scene, behind these bright and clear moments, there is a year-long activities of the troop leaders that invest in the children and youth with cultural, educational, and training courses that during the year prepare the youth and focus on the promising leadership skills that they reflect, and they give them the opportunity to grow so that they can become leaders in the future. In addition, we provide small programs like scholarships for the university graduate students, especially in Gaza because of the economic situation. In addition to we are just concluding a special scholarship program for in the medical sector, where 100% of the graduates got immediate employment, and so these are mostly the programs that we're trying to support, always accompanying the church and accompanying the church-related institutions that are doing really heroic job, touching the lives of the children of the deprived, whether in education or social service institutions or health.
Joseph, thank you very much. Now, before we open up to everyone who's watching us for a conversation, I would just like to go around this space here to get some of the thoughts, some of the reflections from our team that has come here together. So let me begin with Tresul Singh Conway, our Chief Financial Officer. Tresul?
Hi. Very good. Hi, welcome everyone. I just want to say thank you to Monsignor Vaccari for giving me this opportunity to visit this office to experience some of the programs that we are funding, and to say thank you to our donors. It was a really, really enlightening experience for me to visit the people of Gaza, to just live with them for a couple of days, to see how they live, how they experience all of the hardships that they have. Just, you know, also looking at the needs that we as an agency are fulfilling and supporting. So really, Monsignor Vaccari, thank you so much for this opportunity.
Tresul, thank you. I'd like to now just ask Thomas Borghese, our Director of Programs, to share some of his thoughts at this time.
Monsignor, thank you very much for giving me this great experience to be here, to be walking in the land where Jesus walked. That's a great experience I had, and especially during our visit to Calvary. It really touched me. And I've read about it, but to be there in that location in person, really, it was a great experience. And also traveling around different works we do, the NECC clinics and the hospitals where we spoke with the staff there. And they say the support they provide without whether color, caste, or religion, everyone who needs help, they come and they'll give the support. And that's amazing. And even at the clinics, young mothers, coming there, waiting to be checked up, and it's a great experience. We are there in New York, but when you see it real, and to understand the need in this land and to experience it ourselves personally, it's a great honor. Thank you, Monsignor.
Thank you, Thomas. And Rodolfo, and all the work that you do in the coordination of programs, and Rodolfo has many talents that he brings on the ground whenever Joseph and Rodolfo and Abir and the team want to coordinate and want to review different projects. What's your work like, Rodolfo? Let's talk to the North American audience.
Well, first, Monsignor, let me express that we are glad and happy to have you between us to show you, just a small portion of what we are doing on the ground in Palestine and Israel. As we always say, for the priests, for the fathers, for the sisters, for the brothers, whenever they want to thank us for the support that we, whenever we support them, we have this saying that we are here to serve. So it's our pleasure and it's our duty to serve our Christian sisters and brothers in this holy land.
Rodolfo, thank you. Thank you very much. And Abir. Abir is also very intimately involved in the Jerusalem office with the putting together of programs, and she is going to be with us when we make our trip on Friday to Bethlehem. Abir.
Yeah. Thank you, Monsignor. Thank you, Tresul, Thomas, for being here with us. We are very glad that we are joining this webinar. Actually, I will talk about the projects team. We as a projects team, we are working directly with the people, and we are not only giving funds for to that institution, to X or Y institution. We are giving hope, and we are finding opportunities in everything. So we are directly working with people from our hearts. You know, investing in people is harder than investing in building and constructions. And you need maybe 1 year to construct or to build a long building, but it needs more than 3 to 5 years to build a person. So this is what this is our work, and this is our mission. Thank you for being with us.
Abir, thank you so much. Abir used a word that I just want to maybe invite a second round here, but Abir, you used the word that we have all used and shared together. The part of our work is to give hope. Let's just focus on that word for a moment. What are the ways that any of us think, in terms of our experience with CNEWA, or perhaps in New York, they have some questions that have come from those who have joined us today. But if we could just first focus for a few minutes on that word hope. We've just come, as I said, a few hours ago from the last 2 days being in Gaza. I think we saw lots of reasons why perhaps people live there without hope. And the only way in which hope is brought to them is because of the extraordinary work that the Jerusalem office is doing, the presence of the church, and the many ways in which we try to be instruments of hope. We're not the source of hope. The source of hope is Jesus alone, but we are the instruments. We are his instruments of hope. Could we just, anybody want to reflect on that meaning of hope? Or I'll rely on Noel and or Tim or whoever in New York wants to let us know if there are others on who are looking at us or joining us, who have other comments, questions, or anything else.
Monsignor, sure. We all met in Gaza, a couple of young, promising employees at a couple of institutions, and it's interesting to share with our viewers that these young people, they didn't have the means to go to college and to pursue their university degree. Thanks to the generosity of our donors, we were able to provide them with a grant for a scholarship for 4 years to obtain that degree. And then following that, through our employment and on-the-job training program, they were able to gain experience in addition to a small income to support themselves and support their families. And thanks to these two programs, they were able to obtain permanent employment at one or the other institutions. So I think that was really a practical example of being an instrument of hope, because without that, they were there sitting and contemplating with their families the possibilities, how they can leave Gaza and maybe find opportunities abroad. But now, thanks to this intervention and to the generosity of our partners, these two couple young men and dozens others, they were able to find hope for themselves, and that there is a future for them in their homeland in Gaza City, notwithstanding all the challenges and the wars that they saw over the past 15 years. So I think this is a real expression.
Sure is.
If we want to broaden the picture, I think Gaza continues also to be a sign of hope, because in Gaza today, among the 2.2 million people, there is a small community of Christians, around 1,000 people. According to Father Gabriel, the parish priest, 1,077 people there. But regardless of this small minority, they run around 14 institutions between hospitals, healthcare facilities, cultural institutions, youth institutions, and schools. serving over 300,000 people every year. So I think they are light, a small light in Gaza, and a portion of salt in that strip devastated by war, high unemployment, and poverty.
Excellent. Thank you, Joseph. Any other comments on hope? Rasul?
Yeah, Monsignor. Sorry. Also the children that we visited and, painting and creating, nice poetry or anything that shows peace and love, that was very inspirational to me, to see that the young kids now are learning how to be more just enjoying a little bit of painting and creating happiness, which is important. And also the clinic that we visit where women can have, prenatal treatments and
Yes.
their babies.
Yes.
Those were for me signs of hope. Just basically seeing the environment that these people that we're supporting are living in. It seems to be so hard for them to live, but yet they're happy and they're smiling and they're sharing and very, very humble. And those were very touching for me and really very life-changing in many ways. So I'm so grateful for that and grateful to the staff here as you see how they express themselves, and especially about the people that they're connecting with. And those are hope, and it's in very small ways, because you're opening up doors and opportunities for these people that we need to support and who needs our assistance. So thank you guys. Thank you so much for all of that.
Thomas? Thomas?
Thank you. Again, speaking of when we visited Gaza, looking at all the children, when they receive us with a smile, they haven't never seen me. This is the first time I'm in this country, and when they see us, they receive us, and they try to speak English with little bit that they know. They try to welcome us, and that's amazing. And those smiles, and when we leave the institution, they wave their hands and say bye. It's the light, little glimmer of hope is there in that child's eye, and that is what we want to develop it. If you are not there, if our generous donors are not there, that glimmer of light which is burning will not be there. So you have to keep it burning for longer time so that hope is built. Thank you.
Thank you. Rodolfo, Abir? Another expression of hope. Abir, you introduced the word.
You hope and have to
Rodolfo,
continue.
you have my word.
Sure, Monsignor. Well, as we mentioned a lot, Gaza also in the other parts of the Palestinian territories, like the northern part of Palestine, the Jenin, the villages around Jenin, there are, maybe tens or hundreds of Christians who feel that they are isolated, that they are neglected. And during the past, let's say, 4 or 5 years, we have been supporting their pastoral activities, Sunday school activities, Bible summer camps. And whenever you meet these people, you meet the children, you see their smile, you feel that they regenerated their hope for the future.
Thank you, Rodolfo.
Only a small
Abir.
thing. Actually, hope is everywhere, but we need to open our hearts. We have, as a projects team, we have tens and thousands of success stories and hope stories during the last 10 to 15 years. So hope is everywhere, but we have to discover it and find it and feel it.
Excellent. Thank you, Abir. So, as Rasul mentioned, the team here in Jerusalem is an outstanding team. We are very grateful to be able to share and collaborate on these experiences. We are most grateful to you for your generosity in making what they do possible. And in the next couple of days, as Rasul, Thomas, and I travel from here to Amman, Jordan, and then on to Beirut, we'll be able to continue to experience the way in which, again, thanks to your prayers, thanks to your generosity, the pontifical mission continues to work. I don't know if from New York, there are any comments or questions or.
Yes, Monsignor, Dom from Staten Island has a good question. CNEWA recently sent out a plea for funds to help people in Ethiopia who will suffer from food shortages, inflation stemming from the Ukraine crisis. Can the panel talk a bit about other CNEWA territories that are being affected by the crisis?
Well, yeah, we certainly can, because and Joseph can talk about it directly. Thanks, a great question. Thank you so much, Noel, and thank you, Dom from Staten Island. But certainly in the short time that we've been here, we've already heard how the Ukraine crisis is impacting here the entire Middle East region, and in particular, the ways in which our office in Jerusalem is already addressing that issue. Again, just as a kind of a sidebar, just to remind our donors, 100%, I repeat it, 100% of all donations to Ukraine go to that end in terms of Ukrainian refugees and IDPs. But now to the specific question in terms of impact.
How it's affecting.
How's the
other
Ukraine
regions.
crisis
Is affecting
impacting
us.
here with regard, if any of you want to comment on that in terms of the impact of grain, the impact of oil?
Unfortunately, our small tiny area that we call the Holy Land, which is Israel and Palestine, is easily affected by any conflict that happens anywhere in the Middle East or even in the whole world. For example, we were deeply affected by the waves of refugees from Iraq and Syria following the conflicts that erupted there during the war on Iraq in the following 2003-4, and then with the violence that erupted in Syria following after the year 2011. It highly affected our area because most of the funding agencies that support Israel and Palestine, they are also active in the whole Middle East region and North Africa, Egypt, Libya. So the same portion of funding that that comes to the Holy Land all of a sudden is divided over 3 or 4 conflict zones, which means less support to this area. And recently, the Russia-Ukraine war also affected our area. Some of the donors that depend on government funding in Europe, until this date, they didn't receive the official budgets for humanitarian and development aid, because their governments are waiting to see how much funding will be spent in the war in Ukraine or in supporting the people of Ukraine. So less funding or on hold projects until they sort that out. In addition, we have witnessed an increment in the prices. The price of bread, due to the wheat that is not being distributed to the various areas of the world, increment of the prices of iron and the metals. So building and rehabilitation projects, all of a sudden, a project, instead of costing 10,000, it will cost 12 or 13,000. So the prices went out. So we were deeply affected by the conflict. Not so much, but by what is happening in the Tigray area and Ethiopia. Thank God, less worry, but we know that conflict is really touching the lives of hundreds of thousands of people as well. And our hearts are with them.
Thank you. Any other comments on that question from Don? Thomas?
At this point, I would also comment on that. During the conflict in Ukraine, I received a call from the director of Caritas in Georgia saying that there's an inflow of so many refugees into Georgia, and which I never expected would happen. And she called, the government officials came down to her asking, is there a possibility to accommodate these old folks, mothers and children and elderly? And she was scrambling for a location where to put them. And it so happened, and I had immediately had a discussion with Monsignor, and then we allocated some funds to send just to receive these mothers and children and elderly to keep them safe in Georgia. And that affected right away. So the funds had to be divided wherever possible an emergency requirement came up, that's one country in Eastern Europe itself just. And so we did send the monies right across. And apart from that, of course, it adds up. The bedding has to be prepared, the blankets, the space heating, and the food, everything comes along when you start receiving these people. So that was something more than what was provided with regions around Ukraine. This was little beyond that. We didn't, and even Armenia will have similar situation, but I have not been contacted. But Georgia immediately called us, and we were able to support them with assistance.
Thank you so much, Thomas. No, I hope that is an answer to Dom from Staten Island from his question. No?
I hope it is too, Don. We also had some questions about what are you planning to do on the rest of your trip?
What are we planning on doing for the rest of our trip? Is that what the question is?
Yes.
So the rest of the trip is very much focused, starting with once we are ready to leave Palestine and Israel, then we're going to be going to Amman in Jordan, where we'll spend 2 days there. And with the director of our program there, we're going to visit the sites where we work. And that's the only purpose of doing a trip like this, to get to basically, what do we want to do? We want to get to the site so that we can spend time in prayer and discussion with our staff. Number one, prayer and discussion with our staff. Support them. Tell them that our donors rely on them to be able to communicate and to be able to execute the will of the donor with regard to his or her generosity, wherever that location is. So that's the first time with the staff. Second, we want to be able to continue to disseminate truthful, correct information. And I thank all of you, and I thank especially Michael Lasavita and our Department of Communications for the important role they play in getting correct information out there to our donors. And then third, in each place we go, because of the prayer, because of the need, because of the way in which we increase understanding, we want to see what we can do, whatever it is, to try to bring humanitarian support, because our donors, their donations are going to be able to help real people. That's what we're about. So we'll do it in Amman, and then from Amman, we'll go and we'll spend 2 days in Beirut. I'm sure that all of the people who have joined us today from wherever in North America are acutely aware of one crisis after another that has really come down upon the people of all of Lebanon. And so I don't need to go, I don't think, through a litany of what those good people are suffering, but our office in Lebanon, our office in Beirut that coordinates, again, Lebanon, Syria, Egypt, and part of Iraq, well, they've got their hands full. And we go there to pray with them. We go there to support them, to better understand the situation, and to encourage them, and to visit the programs, to visit. In this particular case, we'll also be spending some time with the nuncio, because we always want to follow a routine of prayer, protocols, where that is important, and of course also, most importantly, with regard to our programs, to keep them alive. Anything else, Noel?
Yes. Mona asked if we're going to do anything on the parish level to spread awareness of our work, kind of the way CRS does, because she thinks it's vitally important that more people learn on the parish level about our work.
Oh, thank you very much, Noel. We can comment on that both in terms of what we're doing out of New York on the parish level, and then Joseph and Rodolfo and Abir can comment on the context they have on a parish level here in Jerusalem. So first, with regard to New York, as you know, Noel, and I'm so grateful to you and to Tim, who has been so instrumental with regard to this, to Haimdot, who's already working on a schedule of what we'll be doing throughout the summer. But yes, on the parish level, we've started that. I'm very grateful to several of the efforts that have been made in Westchester, so parish level, and also school level, high schools also, where then high school children, students can go to their parents at the different levels in the different parishes, whereby collections can be made as we try to inform our supporters collections are made at a parish level, whether that's parish through school or directly on the number of efforts that we've been able to go to in different parishes already, so that parishes become more conscious of the mission. I'm very grateful to the pastors and very grateful in a very special way to our chair, the chair of our board, His Eminence Cardinal Dolan, who was already at the Board of Trustees meeting that Rasul and I participated. Well, we're there as resources. We're not on the board, but we're there. And of course, when the conversation turned to some of the things going forward in the future, the Cardinal thought it would be a very good idea for CNEWA and Pontifical Mission to go out more often into parishes to be able to make that appeal. So I thank Mona for that question. Joseph, what about here in Jerusalem?
Here in Jerusalem, it's very important for our office to maintain continuous contact with the bishops of the various churches as well as parish priests, because and this is an important point that we need to reflect on. Our programs that we put together to serve the people, they are not the fruit of our own thinking or brainstorming inside the offices of our agency in Jerusalem, but they are the fruit of our visits and meetings with the various key people. And part of those key people with whom we meet are the parish priests, because they are there on the ground. They visit the families in their homes, and they get the primary information on what the needs are, what the challenges are. So it's in cooperation with the various parish priests that we put together our pastoral program and some of our social interventions and other programs that serve the either the families or the children or the youth. So thank you for this question that gave us the opportunity to shed some light on this part of our intervention.
Thanks, Noel.
We have another question. Victor asks, does CNEWA partner with Aid to the Church in Need? Are you duplicating? Just wondering.
So on the, what, do you want to answer it?
Sure.
Oh, okay, we're gonna give you a couple of answers on that. Number one, no, to Victor, just so that Victor knows that on the recent trip, Cardinal Dolan wanted a CNEWA organized delegation to travel to and address the situation with regard to the war in Ukraine. So we went to Poland, to Slovakia, and then of course into Lviv in Ukraine. In those places, one of the stops that we made was to locations that have the support from Aid to the Church in Need. When we came back from that trip to those countries, I went, and especially so that the viewers who are in the Archdiocese of New York, I was invited by Bishop John Bunici, who is one of the auxiliary bishops in the Archdiocese of New York, to his parish, where we had a turnout of over 100 people. And that program was advertised as a program that was sponsored between CNEWA and Pontifical Mission and Aid to the Church in Need. Joseph?
And in addition, in Jerusalem, we try to keep in touch with the various donors to coordinate funding with a number of Catholic and non-Catholic aid organizations from Europe. One of them is Aid to the Church in Need. And this is done in coordination with the people on the ground, so that the sources of funding are always clear in order to avoid duplication, and so that the various donors know their contributions and the contributions of others, in addition to our agency CNEWA, whether CNEWA in the US or our CNEWA in Canada. So we make sure that we are transparent and we disclose the sources of funding, so that people appreciate where this funding is coming from, and they can also communicate with the donors when there is a need for that.
Okay, thank you, Joseph. No? Good?
Yeah, well, if we got time for a couple more quick ones.
All right.
We have a sort of a dual question, one from Elias from Tennessee, is asking in the current state of new vocations to religious life, from Christian communities in Israel and Palestine. And we had a similar question asking, how is the conflict in Israel and Palestine affecting the Christian population in Palestine?
Okay, so a two-part question from Elias in Tennessee, one on vocations, one on conflict. How about the Jerusalem office sharing some reflections?
The location is very important because we are in Jerusalem. We are in the mother church. We are in the place where Christianity began. And from here, it spread to the whole world. So, reading the Acts of the Apostles, we always remember how St. Paul went to the various churches in Antiochia and in Syria to raise collections for the Church of Jerusalem. And it seems that it's the fate of the Church of Jerusalem to always be dependent on its sister churches for support. This is also important for the churches that are spread around the world to keep their eyes on the Church of the Holy Sepulchre, which is behind us, on the empty tomb, which is the witness for the resurrection of our Lord. So it's a two-way communication, support to the Church of Jerusalem, and the Church of Jerusalem continues to be a witness of our faith, of the resurrection of the empty tomb. The other question, unfortunately, we don't like the term minority because the Christians are part of the local community. But as a faith minority, we are affected by the fact that we live among an Arab Palestinian Muslim community, and as such, we are also a minority in Israel among a Jewish majority. The conflict always touches and affects the weakest community. For example, if there is an immigration from Gaza or from the West Bank or from Israel, let's say 10,000 Muslims from the West Bank are opted to leave. That's 10,000 from around 3.5 million. So it's hardly a number to mention. But if 100 Christians decide to leave from Jerusalem, that really touches the lives of the Christian community because we have only 9,000 Christians in Jerusalem. If 100 from Gaza decide to leave, that's 10% of the Christian community. So that's the effect that the conflict has on the Christian community as such.
I think Rodolfo and Dabir may also want to share some thought on this. Thank you, Rodolfo.
Well, I want to share that thanks to mainly to CNEWA benefactors and donors in the United States, we are supporting the Greek Catholic Melkite bishop in supporting the formation of 6 out of 9 of his seminarians studying mainly in the Latin Patriarchate Seminary in Beit Jala and in other places. And there are 3 or 4 that are studying at Rome. So this is for the Greek Catholic Melkite Church, which counts for around 80,000 Christian believers in Israel alone. So this is one part. Also, the other churches like the Franciscans and the Syrian Catholic, they have already some seminarians. They are not that much, but there are.
Great, thank you.
Thank you.
Dabir?
I want to talk about the conflict and if it has affected the Christian community here. To be honest, we are in the same story. Muslims and Christians are in the same story. We are facing the same struggles every day, on daily basis. So, sure, it's affected
It does
us.
affect.
Yes,
Okay.
and we have to be together. We have to help each other, and
That's
that's
it.
what's
Thank
my
you,
mind.
Abir. Thank you very much. No?
Last question from Joseph, which is actually a question for Joseph too. Should someone be fortunate to travel to some of the sites CNEWA supports, such as Jerusalem, is there anything which might be brought with them to be distributed?
As far as equipments or tools or material, I think the material is not a problem. It is available. The problem is with the sources of funding. For example, some of the schools really need the support to provide the tools and equipment for their science lab. Other schools really, they didn't change the seats and benches for the students for almost 40 years now. They are old, and they cause pain and back pain for the children. Stuff like that, which is available here, but it's the sources of funding. Unfortunately, medicines and medical supplies, they have to go through a long and tiresome process of getting approvals by the Israeli authorities, what they call the taken, which is the Ministry of Health specifications that complicates things. To bring stuff to Gaza, there is the added burden of coordinating for the material to get into Gaza, which becomes really very complicated. Unfortunately, that's the situation that we witness here. For which reason, bringing material becomes more problematic.
Okay, thank you very much, Joseph. No?
That's it, Monsignor.
Well, no, thank you very much. And again, our thanks from Jerusalem to all of you there in the boardroom. In particular, thank you, Noel, Tim, thank you so much for the working on the slides and helping with the presentation. Heimdad, thank you very much. Nelson, thank you very much. Everybody in the boardroom, thank you for coming in and just being able to share this moment. Particular word of thanks, Joseph, please, to the young Palestinian men who have joined us here and who are involved in making this possible from Jerusalem, from this rooftop of the Maronite Convent in downtown Jerusalem. But most especially, thank you to all of the donors. Thank you to everyone who's taken the time to just consider and be updated on the work of CNEWA and Pontifical Mission right now in the Middle East. That's where we're traveling, in particular here, of course, in Jerusalem. We do not neglect, because we're in one region, the issues that we're looking at with the war in Ukraine, with what is going on certainly in Ethiopia and in Eritrea, what is going on in India. They are all very much present to us at CNEWA and Pontifical Mission all the time. We just appreciate your generosity. Please just keep us in your prayers. For yourselves, please keep well informed. And I'm hoping that that prayerful discernment on your part will enable you to make whatever contribution you think is appropriate. I'll add one final note. This trip here began, and I thank Joseph, who extended to myself, to Tresul, and to Thomas the invitation on Sunday, Pentecost Sunday, to join the Franciscan community and some others who have been invited in the actual cenacle, in the place where the first Pentecost took place. So it was an extraordinary privilege, I think, for the three of us. And Joseph, I thank you in the way in which that had been arranged through the Custos to be present there with the Franciscan community in the cenacle. I thank you all very much. Thank you for your prayers. Thank you for taking the time to join us. And I look forward to hopefully seeing you again on the second Wednesday in July. For now, please, thank you very much, and good night or good day, wherever you are, from Jerusalem. Thank you.
Thank you.